Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another tips and tricks video in our series for Golf Blitz. Today is a very special episode because the course that we will be looking at has been added within the past month, so it's very new and people are still trying to come up with a bunch of strategies for it. And I'd like to throw my hat into the ring and kind of give you a showcase of what that looks like. That is one of the many Tour 10s that are available within the game, specifically the Tropics Tour. And like I said, this one's fairly new, but it incorporates some elements that we've seen with previous versions, though you do tend to do a little bit better if you've spec'd into some of the power stats or have access to some of your more powerful abilities or elixir cards that you can use throughout the course of this course. So let's jump into the different holes that are present within the Tropics course. And as we do, make sure to check and see if you are subscribed to the channel. If you're not, go ahead and fix that for me, as that subscription is free and easy, and there's daily variety content coming your way. And don't forget to leave a like on today's video if you find it helpful, interesting, and or enjoyable. So without further ado, let's head to the Tropics. So right off the bat, we have a course that can be a lot of fun, but also a royal headache. Now, if you are looking to get this done quickly, I'm going to attempt to demonstrate this with the demo account or the alt account here. But you're not going to do typically well if you take that type of a higher rise shot. Instead, you'll want to try and come over here to this far platform and then get as high of a bank shot as you can down onto this ramp down below. However, if you have access to tools like we do, such as the gooey ball, you can kind of circumvent that unfavorable bounce and just head right down towards the bottom of the course, because as you can see, it's not really advantageous where I have the alt account at currently. So we'll go ahead and take a little chip shot from here, banking off that back wall and rolling back in towards the hole. That's the best method that I've seen, but again, there are a couple of things that you could do to have varying degrees of success on that hole. Lining up to get that ramp, unless you have a way of stopping on that platform, is the best method by far. Now, this one can be a little bit tricky because you don't have a whole lot of room for a margin of error here, but if you can play the power ball properly, you may be able to end up on that putting green. Again, I'm gonna try and demonstrate with the alt account here. It doesn't have as powerful of cards of a resource, and yeah, we just missed that. Let's try again with ours, banking a little bit higher off of that wall. And it does get you at least onto this little pier where you can then take a follow-up shot for a more definite area. If you're lucky, you can probably catch that lip that's on the leftmost side of that green and then stay up there for a putting shot, but that is an option you can use. If not, you're going to want to progress normally with your other shots down throughout the traversal. Now, this zone has something fairly similar, and I didn't mean to take that shot with the alt account there, but if you can get a shot right here where you land on the green and bounce back up around, you can actually get an ace on this hole. But you've got to be fairly careful with it, and that generally means that you need to have a higher degree of accuracy on your super ball before taking that type of a shot. Again, if you're missing the super ball, you've just gotta play through the course normally. There's no other tricks to that if you don't have the power-ups that will allow you to approach the green a little bit more directly. So I do want to make a correction about this course, and that is the fact that you can't just passively roll down this ramp that's down here at the bottom. But if you're packing some heat with, say, the super ball, and you come up and then down with some more force, you can then make your way over to the green, and may even be able to get an ace on that. So if you have that as an available resource, then that may be the better option, but you could also run into some trouble if you have opponents that have the gooey ball. They kind of get stuck down there on that ramp as you're going to bump into them, and then everyone's kind of jostling for additional positions. So this hole, you can't really bank on those same strategies that we were showing. You may be able to do so with the Super Ball because of how this green is oriented, but it's a little bit more risky than that second hole that we showcased. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my fast forward ball to get a little closer, and then the gooey ball to get up onto the green. You've got a lot of room to work with here, but the further you can make it onto this edge of the pier, the easier of a follow-up you are going to have onto the actual green itself for finishing out the hole. Beware of griefers on this one because they can really throw a wrench in your plans. So this is another one that you can possibly get the Super Ball to work well for you, and I botched that shot. But if we, no, I'm not going to be able to make that anymore. Because as you see, I'm going to have way too much of a rebound, and I'm just going to end off in the water hazard there. But let's see if I can demo this with the alt account here. With a high enough bank shot there on his Super Ball. Yes, he does bounce back onto the green there. So you've just got to be aware of how much power you've stacked into your Super Ball, which I highly recommend, as that's what it's based around, is prioritizing the power with the first couple of level ups you get for it, because then you're going to have a really easy follow-up shot, or potentially even be able to roll just right into the hole itself. Otherwise, you're going to want to aim for that sand trap and then get as close as you can, and then get whatever follow-up option to the hole as possible. And if you're lucky enough to land there, then that just puts you a step ahead of the competition. Oh boy, this hole is all sorts of crazy. So again, the Super Ball is going to be very beneficial for you, especially if you can get right through that opening like we did. And if you have enough power, you may even be able to roll back off of this end on that singular shot, but it's still going to put you in a position where you're going to need to get that follow-up. If you don't have access to higher power shots, then you're just going to need to treacherously climb your way up that cliff face. And again, if you're facing opponents that have grenade balls, then that's really going to throw a wrench in your plans, because they're going to send you back down to the base of the hill. So this hole is kind of tricky, because ideally you need to make your way over and around, and the proposed path, of course, takes you down along the bottom and then back up towards the top. However, if you can stay up on this top ledge, then you can get easier access over to this larger wheel as it spins around. And if you have access to the gooey ball, you can assure that you end up getting stuck on that spot. From here, it's just kind of playing cautiously, because of course, if you come in with too much heat, you're going to end up in the acid. If you have an opponent that has a grenade ball, they're going to try and shoot you into the acid. Even the heavy ball is going to cause some problems, because it sends other balls flying throughout. So you've really just got to be cautious when approaching that green if there are multiples of you in that area. Even the power ball can cause you some trouble. But you've really just kind of got to pick your target. If you can go up and over, that's the shorter, more effective route from my experience. But if not, you just got to race your opponents along the bottom to get back up to the top there. This hole is very interesting. As you can see, there's a lot of these little cup platforms that are rotated either vertically or facing downwards. And basically, you've just got to kind of play Plinko as you make your way down. So what I have found is decent is to take that shot over towards the left-hand side, because then if you've got enough accuracy, you can bank off of this edge and end up in the sand trap, which gives you a very easy follow-up into the lower portion. Now, if you don't feel like going for that particular shot, you can go for the zone that's just above that green, because it has that cup on the overhang that will allow you to get a little bit of a safer track down, but I like using the sand trap area for accessing that point. Now, if you don't have the gooey ball on this course, you can still get to the point where you're out around the outcropping to the point where you can then take that higher road up. You've just got to be aware, because if you move too early on that, then you're going to have griefers that, like I'm about to demonstrate here with the alt account, are just going to knock you off of the edge, especially if they have access to that super ball that's really going to cause you some hurt. From there, again, it's just a matter of making your way down to the actual green off of that spinning circle, and it's really advantageous if you can take that path where all possible. So with this hole, there's a couple of different approaches that one can take. The first and obvious choice is always going to be hitting down to this sand trap. Now, you could potentially take a bounce off of this overhang that's just right up above you if you see what the alt account's done there, but as you see, he went a little bit too far down and ended up in that water hazard, so it's not always a gamble that you should be willing to take. Now from here, you may be able to take a riskier shot down, and then that will put you in a position where you can get an easier follow-up to actual self. But all things considered, there's no wrong way of going about this hole, because if you do take that extra shot over into the sand trap on the far right at the bottom, it gives you an easier access to getting into the sand trap below the green and then taking a shot directly up to finish off. So this hole can be a little bit interesting, because ultimately you need to make your way down towards the bottom, but there's not really a great angle of attack to do that from the left-hand side. So you need to make your way over towards the right, ideally as far on the right of this little sand trap as you can, because you don't want to come in too powerful down into that bottom section. I got very fortunate that I was stopped by the post of this little pier here. But from here, if you can, try and get a shot directly into the hole. If not, go ahead and bank off of this right side and then take an easier follow-up from the little sand trap just off to the side of the putting green there. Well, I have played through this tour a couple of times to make sure that I've covered everything, and I do believe that to be the case. But what do you think? Do you think that there's strategies that I missed, or are there any holes that slipped by me? Be sure to let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If there are corrections that need to be made, I will be sure to address those at the start of a future episode. But thanks so much for your time, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day.